across the entire league there. The jungle and support duo here really been very, very highly participatory for the NIP squad. I think everything has largely run through them. Obviously, Hoya and Assum have been putting up, you know, the really good damage stats, the really good gold generation stats, but oh wow, looks like the Nico gets left up, and Zhuo going to actually manage to play Nico for the first time this season.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised they let it through. ThunderTalk don't like playing into it, nor do they like playing it. So the fact that it's left up and that the Jarvan in particular is taken off the board is very curious. This has been a big game one pick overall. The Jarvan, that is, for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but it leaves up the premier solo lane duo in the game, the Ryze and the Rumble. If they do want to go for that right now, it gives them so much pressure in the mid and late game if they want to go for it, lane priority as well. You can even go potentially for, you know, your hyper carry of choice. You mentioned the Xin Zhao, plenty of options left on the board. Will be the Xin Zhao locked in as the answer here as well. Very early priority for a champion that NIP don't really want to pilot all that much.
Yeah, now you're giving Nico Rumble as a comp over to NIP if Hoya wants to pilot it. Ooh, that's a little dangerous if you ask me here, Kman, but the Varus did get banned away, so Hoya cannot go back to that well, but it doesn't feel like he needs to. The highest priority top laner in the game, staring him right in the face right now if he does want to snap it on up. And, I mean, Ryze not even a terrible champion of all the ones that could be face up to pick it into. I'd be very surprised if this doesn't come through for Hoya, and it will be snapped on up.
Yeah, I mean, the Rumble is a no-brainer here. The fact that this champion got all the way to the third selection phase is insane with just how strong Rumble has been, how consistent it's been in the early parts of this draft phase. But what a great start for NIP. You've got a lot of team fight pressure already with the Yunara and the Rumble. And of course, Nico is the premier playmaker. Zhuo's going to have a lot on his plate here, depending on the jungler that they end up selecting. Xin Zhao does have a lot of opportunities for early aggression into lanes like Yunara and Rumble, but as long as they're able to cancel that out, it should be fine. Kasante's been the standard pick across the world. It is kind of the default tank right now. I don't love this matchup for Keshi. It's certainly not one that he's going to be able to express a ton of skill in, but if he can survive, then you've got a lot of priority coming out of the middle of the map, and this kind of proves to me that they maybe want to focus more on Heru than Keshi in this particular game.
Yeah, definitely what it is looking like, and like we called out earlier, right, both of them rookies, both of them coming up from BLG Junior, but in the lower league, it was Heru that was the main character of this team, despite how ThunderTalk have looked on the pro stage. So maybe not the worst thing in the world to be giving a little bit more pressure over towards Heru, especially facing off against Care, who I think, well, NIP have been a lot more successful this season than NIP and have won a lot more games. It's not really been Care that's been the big standout player here. I think jungle support, you could say a lot about their ability to pressure around the map. You'd say a lot about Hoya and Assum's individual performances. I think Care, it kind of a little bit more in the background compared to the rest of the squad.
Yeah, I think the big thing about Care is just how flexible he can be in draft. You really don't have to worry about him too much. He can just kind of survive. So definitely a bonus there. With the bans that are coming out, I'm really surprised to see Lulu and Bard bans coming out against Feather. Surprised that it's not Nautilus and Leona and Rel and champions of that ilk, because I do believe that that really is kind of a specialty. But I expect AD carry to drop here. If they want to go for something aggressive, Corki makes the most amount of sense. The 2v2 gauntlet is going to kind of be thrown. The question is, do you want to pair that with a Nautilus, potentially for late game team fights, or something like a Nami, if you really want to pressure at that 2v2 lane? For now, it's going to be one of the most standard drafts in the world on the other side. I mean, this is popular pick central. This has to be, you know, a collection of some of the most common picks in the game right now, with the Vi Ahri getting locked, the mid-game pressure to bridge into a Rumble Yunara late game. Love the draft for NIP.
Yeah, I mean, you've already got Rumble and Nico locked in. You've already got Yunara as a consistent DPS threat for these kind of mid-game skirmishy fights. Don't risk anything, right? No need to get wild with it. You've already drafted yourself a composition that a lot of teams around the world would kill for. Looking very, very strong with that one, as I do think Feather gonna lock on in that Nami. So going to be piloting that one alongside the Corki is a little bit of an aggressive lane duo. You do want to go for something a little bit more enchantery when you can up against the Nico. I think that's the reason for the Lulu Bard bans. But yeah, I mean, I definitely share some of your questioning of it, though, given what Feather has gone for all season long. Hasn't touched the Bard once, hasn't touched the Lulu once. Draws bans on both of them regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be the most targeted bans towards ThunderTalk in particular, but what we've ended up with in terms of these drafts are two very solid drafts that have very clear win conditions. In fact, I think both of them are in similar power spots. It's all really just going to come down to who executes better. The one-item power spike, especially the level 6 surrounding that Vi Ahri duo, is always so scary. If you can get Nico moving around the map, chaos can really ensue, but it's not like you're not matching that with Ryze and Xin Zhao and a ton of skirmish potential on the other side, the side laning coming from them and the picks as well. Going to be very, very fun to watch. Both of these teams have set themselves up for success. It's really just going to come down to execution here.
Absolutely here. Very exciting to see how ThunderTalk are going to try to pilot this composition and try to find themselves a way to get a second win in this season. Reminder for anybody joining us at the last minute here, Ninjas in Pyjamas need exactly a 2-0 to take second in Group Perseverance and earn themselves an upper bracket spot in Knight's Road. Anything less than a 2-0 over ThunderTalk here, and that spot will go to EDG instead. Ninjas in Pyjamas will drop down to the lower bracket to start off with on Knight's Road.
Gotta win. This is the time to step it up for NIP.
Certainly is here. Keshi and Hoya find each other up here on the top side, and she will be looking to push this Rumble just a little bit back to kick things off. Not going to be too much bloodshed here as the first waves do crash. Does look like topside starts for both junglers. Looking to have impact on what could be a pretty aggressive bot lane with two ranged supports.
Yeah, both bot laners here definitely kind of want to push forward. Imagine the Corki Nami is going to have a good amount of lane priority early on here. See how long they can hold on to that. If the Vi wants to put some pressure, this is a lane that is very gankable for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but it's all really going to come down to how many resources they want to use on that front for now. Good job from Assum and Zhuo to push forward. You just don't want to take any bad trades against something like Nami because she can recoup it so quickly. As for jungler starts, very, very standard stuff. We do have Vision down on top of ThunderTalk here. Junhao is going to be spotted clearing down, so they will have a good understanding of exactly what his timers are and can track him accordingly.
Absolutely. Good little bit of vision wherever you can find opportunities to do stuff at level 1. A little bit more limited in 2026 as compared to prior seasons, but information is information all the same. And these two bot lanes, I think, definitely has an opportunity to be very, very explosive here, especially with the lack of sustain here from the Nico support. Zhuo has gotten a lot of respect towards his Nico this season, but has not actually gotten the opportunity to show it too much. See if he is going to be able to really have those big pop-offs this game, find these big pop blossoms, and be that big CC engage force that NIP are going to need him to be.
It's exactly the role he filled last year on a JD Gaming team that desperately needed someone to fill in the support position. We'll see if he can do the same here today. We highlighted these two top laners. Going toe-to-toe a little bit. Oh, Keshi taking quite a bit of damage, but you definitely don't want to be scared as the Cassante in this lane. The moment that things start getting really rough is when you see that lane priority over to the Rumble. Keshi, we know a player who's not afraid to take some trades every once in a while, so exciting to see how these two top laners go head-to-head in this classic matchup as Guwon. Showing some pressure in the mid lane here.
Yep, tapping on through, just making sure the care is going to be covered and accounted for. Did already pick up the first scuttler, so kind of trying to make a mad dash over towards the second one. Does not have the smite quite yet, does have the backup of care, so he's just going to try to posture aggressively up against Junhao here, and he does manage to snag it as soon as his smite comes back up. That's a double scuttle start for Guwon and NIP.
It's a very, very big win. Junhao's going to try and get as much out of this as he can. Going to start up on the Raptors, but again, Kara's still in the area. Heru is walking back. Theoretically, there could be a play to make here, but it's just going to be a trade. Kara's making his way up.
Heru recalled. This is very dangerous territory for Junhao here. He is now over inside the enemy red buff, has to flash away. Kara misses the charm. So Junhao gets bailed out a little bit there, and will walk away without flash.
I mean, you say you got bailed out, but the flash is burned. I mean, you're invading with no mid laner. It's a crazy decision from my Xin Zhao early on in the game, and a lot of that pressure is now off the board. We already assumed that the Vi Ahri were going to be able to run the game at level 6. Well, now you have no flash on the Xin Zhao to be able to make those aggressive plays either. Guwon's going to have a lot of tempo here, but Hoya could be in some trouble. Guwon's going to be here to help.
Yeah, Keshi doing a solid job in this lane. That is the second point-blank Q3 my man has missed. If he's connecting those up against Hoya, I think he'd really be in a dominant position. He is still building himself up a solid CS lead here, though. Not a solid laning phase from Keshi, all the same, despite those 1 or 2 missed skill shots that we've seen on camera. And that is going to really need to be something that ThunderTalk need to be able to play through. So far, doing a solid job of holding their own are Heru and Ryan, not falling behind at this stage of the game. And, yeah, I mean, the best laning difference so far is going to be that Keshi versus Hoya lane. Good start for Keshi.
Yeah, it's a really good start for Keshi. If he can continue to just have priority in this lane, I mean, things get really easy for the K'Sante if he has a gold lead throughout this one. And we know what Keshi can do in terms of damage, even on these tank champions, as we've seen throughout this year. But a lot of credit here to Assum and Zhuo, who continue to pressure out this bot lane. Corki Nami was drafted with the explicit purpose of being able to shove and win in the early 2v2, and that is just not happening. Level 6 is now reached by the mid laners. Realm Warp available, and Care is also a huge playmaker here. You gotta make sure that you are aware on the map, potentially when something drops, as a heal is burned here.
Yeah, Assum finds himself without really any mana. Keshi going all out on the top side as he takes level 6 first, has that advantage over Hoya, looking to take the fight even further, does not connect the scoop back. But Hoya forced out, still no TP available, is gonna try to hang out in this lane a little bit longer. He knows he's got Guwon top side.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great trade from Keshi. He does have to be a little bit careful. Hoya about to tick over to level 6. You don't want to take too much damage and die to the Equalizer.
Good damage being returned by Hoya, like you said. Equalizer, a big force here now that it is available. ThunderTalk, though, the prio in the bot lane, and with Guwon topside, going to look to start off Dragon number 1. I think they're going to be able to finish this one before Guwon can get over, but will they try to take a fight afterwards? Zhuo and Assum coming in from the bottom side. A pinch from NIP on towards the ThunderTalk squad. They're going to engage onto Junhao, and he will be one shot. There's going to be the kill going over to Assum. Advance forward from Care with the first of the resets, channeling Realm Warp. Everybody gets out except for Ryan. I think he clicked outside of the Realm Warp, but he will escape with the flash and the barrier nonetheless.
Oh, that was very close. Very, very easily could have turned into a terrible play still. A big win for NIP to be able to pick up first blood there, as this might not be quite over yet. Feather could theoretically be in trouble here, but they do get the dragon, so there's something there. Guwon needed to cover on the top side because of that fight happening with Hoya, just in case Keshi wanted to continue to push his advantage. What that gets you is a dragon, and that's about it, because you lose the fight. 1k gold lead for NIP, and most importantly, the kill went on to Assum on this Yunara. We're going to go ahead and get a replay. This is the power of burning that Xin Zhao's flash at level 3 so early on in the game, as he just gets locked down in this team fight. You get to free hit with the Yunara, and it's a free kill. You have no damage at this point in the game, so Vi just gets to walk out. It looks like Ryan, just right on the edge. It forces him to burn the flash and the barrier. Really unfortunate turn of events there for the AD carry. It's kind of gone from bad to worse with the lack of summoners.
Yeah, not clear if he was just barely outside of it and the hovering Corki model makes it hard to tell, or if he actively had clicked outside of the Realm Warp. That is a mechanic where if you're right on the edge and you are clicking in such a way where you're not going into the Realm Warp and are instead stepping out of it, it won't port you. That's a mechanic intentionally put in the game to stop you from griefing your teammates in solo queue with it. But we do occasionally see little errors in pro play from it, and it's going to cost Ryan his flash either way this time. But Guwon showing back up towards mid. Heru with enough space from the phase rush to get himself out, though.
Yeah, the priority on the map right now is for sure in favor of NIP. That Vi ultimate is about to be back off of cooldown, but it's the double invade going on right now as the ships pass in the night from these two. Bot lane pressure still going on, but it will be a blue buff for red buff trade for these two junglers. We'll see if Junhao actually makes his way to this red buff. The pings are going down. Guwon could be in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, now stepping on up, Guwon does successfully steal away the red buff. And now we'll just back on away. They're not going to go for a little bit of a pinch in towards the tri-brush here. NIP feeling pretty comfortable about their control around this bottom side. The Scuttle, or rather the Rift Grubs, have spawned on up towards the top side. Wonder if either side is really going to try to pressure for this. ThunderTalk have a little bit of a lead on Keshi. He's up about 20 CS now. Going to be continuing to find good trades in towards Hoya. Will he commit the ultimate here? He will. Hoya taken down below half HP. Keshi keeping the fight onto him. Looking for the scoop point blank once again, and Hoya going to be forced to flash. This is looking like grub time, Kman.
It is top domination right now for ThunderTalk, and I was going to point this out. As we can see, one grub is already gone. Guwon was actually taking that before that play ever happened, so at most here, ThunderTalk with that pressure topside will be able to get 2 grubs, but 3 will be denied because of Guwon's proactivity. Well done there by the NIP jungler, but what a performance right now from Keshi on the top side of the map. Look at the CS lead that he's been able to generate for himself, up 200 gold naturally. As Guwon going to continue to try and pressure bot lane, is going to miss the Q onto Feather, so the damage won't be there. The dive is likely off because of that, but just goes to show where the priorities are for Ninjas in Pyjamas. With Dragon spawning in just over a minute, they definitely want to make sure their bot lane is in as good of a spot as possible.
And Feather ducks the punch there, gets himself out of the way, and will, in fact, be just fine to be able to pick up this wave as it crashes into the bottom side. Like you called out, though, Keshi doing a great job, especially given that last time these two met, just a few days ago, Hoya dominated. Hoya was so good in the top lane one-on-one the previous time they interacted. That's how he ended up kind of taking the lead in some of these stats compared to Keshi, who has been, one of the more dominant laning tops and really a big bright spot for ThunderTalk. So ThunderTalk definitely breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that he's able to, find a way back to being successful up against Hoya now the second time that they meet.
And this is exactly what we were talking about with ThunderTalk. This is a young and inexperienced team that we can kind of expect to get better as they play more games. We're certainly seeing that out of the top side of the map. But importantly now, we can start to see those first item completions coming through for both the junglers, and that means plays are expected to be made. Flashes available for both of them as well as ultimates. I'm really going to be looking at where Guwon wants to put that pressure. 10 seconds on this dragon spawning. Do they want to full-on fight for it as everybody is pathing to the bot side? Or perhaps look for a pick? The setup right now seems to be NIP controlling the river.
Sure. Second dragon, as soon as it's ready, it's got Guwon standing in front of it and calling over the bot lane. Looking set up to be able to work on this one, no problem. Junhao approaching from the bottom side. Will he look for this engage? Does dive in, looking for the smite fight. Actually steals it away, but now he's in a 1 versus 3. Tidal Wave coming in to try to bail him out, but Pop Blossom going to knock him up and take him down. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Zhuo going down as well. Awesome for it to flash away as Keshi is TP'd into the fray. And it will be that trade of lives, but the Dragon going the way of ThunderTalk 2-0 in that department.
Yeah, it's a slight win here for ThunderTalk in terms of the fight. They get the Dragon and trade 1-for-1 in kills. However, with Keshi committing that teleport down here to the bottom side, they wanted to probably get a little bit more. Hoya is actually allowed to catch up quite a bit in terms of gold on the top side. He didn't have the teleport to commit, and so he just got to push out the top side and salvage his game a little bit. Still very nice of ThunderTalk to grab that Dragon. They're now sitting on 2 Drakes. We talk about a gold lead for NIP, but if there's one way to get back in this game, it's going to be these Drakes as long as Heru can survive here. Oh, no.
Yeah, Heru a little bit collapsed on. Good little dodge there away from the blooming bursts, but I think he's done for one way or the other. Tangle Barb's probably going to solidify his fate as Guwon connects another Vault Breaker to end his life. NIP up 3-1 in the kill score, and they take a bigger lead than they've had so far.
That is a really big pick. You do not want to give tempo and pressure over, and unfortunately for Heru, we've seen this decently consistently out of him over the course of this year. It's just not all that stable in the mid lane right now, and we'll see how the Rise can respond. Kara is going to get quite a bit of gold. We can see down at the bottom of your screen, over a 1,000 gold lead for Kara in the mid lane already. He has a majority of Ninjas in Pyjamas gold at the moment on this Ahri. He's had some fantastic performances on his most played champion across this split so far, and he'll happily add the first tower gold into his pocket to really accelerate this Ahri.
And right after we just called out that Care, kind of the least flashy member of NIP, just there to fill his role and be flexible, he finds himself with the biggest lead and a lot of force on his shoulders for this game number 1. The Ahri definitely big carry potential in this game, and kind of a draft built around it, right? It's not the hardest comp to execute in the world, the Vi-Ahri combo, but it's definitely one that Care is going to have in his hands, and we're going to need to see him able to not just to pick up that first kill, but carry through and deliver damage to additional targets to see NIP win out on these fights.
And speaking of that, this is a pretty important timer to fight on. Heru not quite at that level 11 just yet. Care has hit that level 11 power spike. 50 seconds on the Rift Herald on the top side of the map. Do not be surprised if Guwon and Care are linking up to try to make a play in just a few moments. Guwon will be pathing to that top side and making sure that he can secure those objectives. We see that because the top laners are on the bottom side now, which means that that has become the pseudo weak side. I say that, but Keshi could be the target here. No tower.
A little bit here, trying to escape. It is going to be Keshi doing his best to push his way out of there with the Pathmaker. Is forced to flash after using all out. Does manage to hold on to enough health that he probably doesn't have to recall, but yeah, definitely a little bit less room to play with as here comes Guwon towards the mid lane. Ulti right on towards Ryan. Pop Blossom right afterwards. Awesome, free to fire away as Guwon finishes off the kill. Charm connects onto Junhao. He has to use the Crescent card to create a little bit of space. Heru forced back as well as everybody from NIP connecting their skills and pushing him further back. Dodges out on one more charm to stay alive. But NIP make their pick in mid and continue to exert their will across the map.
This is exactly what we were talking about, Gordo. It's the ultimate priority on this one-item power spike for this Ninjas in Pyjamas comp that is going to make them so dangerous to play into. Gets them that Rift Herald, which is going to open up the map a lot for a team comp that really doesn't want to be playing side lanes too much in the late game into something like Rise. Overall, it's just a nice play from Ninjas in Pyjamas, and it goes to show that they really have learned quite a bit from their previous series and not being able to play these mid-game skirmishes as well as possible. Seems like they are playing active, proactive, and aggressive with these ultimates and really utilizing them to their fullest.
Yeah, maybe would wish that Guwon wasn't getting quite as many kills as he is. If you could hand those over to the Yunara or the Ahri, you'd be a little bit happier about your position. But, I mean, 3.5K is 3.5K. At 16 minutes, you're plenty happy with that sort of lead. Unfortunately, this is well-trodden ground for ThunderTalk as the lowest performing early game team in the league. They just need to be able to find a way to clean these up if they're going to try to find a way to compete in these games. And so far, they're just still under pressure. Ryan hunted down, chased to the dirt by Guwon as he picks up his third.
And that is just a bit of rookie syndrome going on for ThunderTalk as we drop the Herald into the mid lane. This will get the crash down. It will not quite pick up the turret, but still a lot of gold with plates going over. 4 seconds on the dragon spawn. This would be soul point for ThunderTalk, but there's really no way they can fight this. They have no AD carry on the map. And that costly pick, quote-unquote, on Zhuo might really become a problem. Junhao might try to go in for the steal here, though.
And it's as good a strategy as any at this stage for ThunderTalk. If Junhao can try to force his way in there, does get jumped on, and this time NIP know their target and isolate him. Will be a trade kill back onto Zhuo, bursted out by a nice little spell flux combo out of Heru. ThunderTalk get a little something back, but it's the 1-for-1 trade. Care advances forward, charms on a Heru, but now he's up too far. Keshi finds the CC, Keshi blows him up, Heru gets a second kill, but now Keshi's over the wall, going to have to try to escape, and will be able to do so with the backup of his team. ThunderTalk take the fight 2-1 while losing the dragon.
It's unfortunate that you lose the dragon there. Soul point would have been huge for their win condition, but way to capitalize on some mistakes coming in from NIP. They're just feeling themselves a little too much. Care dashing too far forward without the rest of his team, just not respecting that this Cassante is actually in a very good spot. And we see the punish coming in. But going back to this dragon fight, this is an ill-advised fight in general for ThunderTalk. Junhao wants to try and stick around to steal this dragon and to get onto Soul Point, but with no AD carry, it's really easy to just focus down this melee frontline jungler and burst him into oblivion. But this is where we just get over-cocky. Care dashing in. He finally hits a charm. Hasn't been super pinpoint with those this game, but overestimates the health bar that he has at his disposal this early on. Keshi is able to really pair up with Heru nicely. The two rookies coming in, shutting down Care and getting a lot of gold onto a Rise that is still going to be very important and very relevant in the late game.
And you know what the real tragedy of that fight is, Kman? They actually make a nice pick onto the Nico. Zhuo is isolated. He's caught by a bubble. They chain the CC well. They're able to kill him. The clone doesn't mess up the Rise combo. But Junhao is so laser focused on trying to get out of the dragon that they can't just take a positive play and then try to play with a numbers advantage. Unfortunate there for ThunderTalk. Still does a little bit of work to cut into the gold lead, but still a lot more ground left to cover if ThunderTalk are going to look to be competitive in game number 1.
You just can't be making those kinds of mistakes. Junhao very far behind in the jungle matchup, but as we know with Xin Zhao, you are never out on that champion. One good knockup, and you can be in a pretty dominant spot. For now, it's going to be that mid lane turret falling. More gold going into the pocket of the main carries, and that's really where I'm looking here. It's a 1.4k gold lead for Assum down on the bot side. Those items are starting to come through on the Yunara. The entire intention behind this draft is Vi and Ahri can dominate on that one item power spike at level 6 to transition into Yunara carrying in the late game. Certainly going according to plan right now for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Absolutely. The fact that Assum is now 2-0-2, has his second item already completed, means that they are well equipped for whatever skirmish is upcoming next. It is likely going to be that Dragon number 4. I don't think either of these teams are too interested in firing off a super early Baron. The turret gold doing a lot to help out NIP here as well. There's only one plate remaining on top. If ThunderTalk can try to make a little move up there to try to scoop themselves a little bit of equity back in the game, I'm sure they would love the opportunity, but NIP well aware of this. Already sending multiple members up towards that side of the map, and Care might be the one who actually walks away with an extra outer turret.
Yeah, the split push Ahri has been very effective over the course of this game just due to the nature of these lane states. It's a lot of gold going into the pocket of Care, but as we saw, this Ahri still takes some execution to pilot. For now, Ryan could be the target for Hoya, who has made his way up with that pushing lane down on the bottom side, but no play to be made. Really, at this point, you are waiting for a major objective to bait these fights. You do have a concern for NIP. It's that you don't really have a true frontliner on this comp to be able to take some poke coming in from the Corki if you are to set up around these objectives, but if they can find a priority target, they have so many dive tools, so many ways to pick. Anybody who oversteps, that you want to make sure that you have as much vision control as possible to set that up.
Yeah, you definitely don't have a lot of time to sit around and not pull the trigger as this NIP comp, but luckily for them, they have a lot of ways to pull the trigger. So there's always going to be the chance to just go ahead, fire away. There is the first item, Proto Belt, completed for Zhuo, so he can flash dash, ult people. Guwon, always going to be willing to fire off the cease and desist. And they're looking to pressure into the enemy jungle here. They really want to make sure ThunderTalk are forced to keep their distance as this next dragon spawns. You don't want to give over a soul point as a freebie if you don't have to, and they have enough of a gold lead that they certainly do not have to.
I mean, this is the hard part. You're just bleeding resources on the map if you're ThunderTalk. This has gone from a 3k gold lead to a 5k gold lead very quickly for Ninjas in Pyjamas with that dragon spawning, as you pointed out. Guwon is absolutely massive on this Vi. One ultimate onto a priority target, and that could be it.
Yeah, that's going to be a little clone thrown in there by Zhuo just to scout on away. And all of the entrances covered by NIP. Assum has to play a little bit safe in the mid lane as Keshi is coming down from the top side. Hoya going to be a little bit later to this one, as is Heru. Heru should have the Realm Warp, though. Be able to show up here on the flank. Already TP being channeled by Hoya. Here comes the Pop Blossom. Only really connects on a Junhao and is largely immune. Meanwhile, isolated away is Guwon. Ryan gets flashed on by Hoya, though, to make it a 1-for-1. It's jungler for carry. Pretty good for NIP thus far. But what about the rest of the fight? Heru's over the wall. Is going to push back Care on his own. It's a flash for flash exchange. And an inside track onto the Dragon available for ThunderTalk here. Not too shabby for a team down 5k gold.
That is a huge turn overall for ThunderTalk. Not only are you able to pick up the dragon here,
coming back.
Put yourself on some point. No, they want to fight this.
Yeah, Keshi going to get pushed back away, loses so much of his health before his team is ready to fight. Now here comes Care taking the portal back over onto the other side. They are going to be able to secure themselves soul point, though. Good stuff for ThunderTalk. Now, can they get all 4 members out? This is a victory for them, as is. And they'll take that all day, baby. Dragon secured on soul point now. A 1-for-1 exchange of lives, and some of that being the shutdown gold on a Guwon.
I was going to say it's a 1-for-1, but one of those kills had a pretty large bounty on their head, as we see from this replay. It's just too deep from Guwon. He tries to get on Ryan, but the reposition is huge. The Nami ultimate comes in, and Guwon just gets locked up. There's just no way for him to be able to play. The bubble ends up landing. There's too much CC. This is the problem with having so much gold onto your Vi. Yes, Hoya is able to pick up the kill onto Ryan, who all of the damage has been on, but by that point, the damage has way surpassed problem territory, and NIP are actually not nearly in as much of a lead as they were before. Again, the gold still looks okay, but you don't want to be allowing gold onto this Ryzen Corki. Talked about the lack of tanks. This front to back could actually get scary if not corralled in short order.
Yeah, just a little short on the Pop Blossom there. A little bit disjointed in the execution as a result. NIP going to want that one back, but still in a comfortable lead and still trying to exert control over this bottom side jungle. But certainly plenty of time built up for ThunderTalk now to try to make it so this gold lead matters less and less. So they try to just scoop up gold around the map, try to get their Corki on a relatively even keel alongside the Yunara, and they do make some significant progress on that with the Muramana now fully completed. Heru gets his second scaling item done as well in the Seraph's Embrace. So these carries starting to pack a little bit more of a punch for the ThunderTalk side.
And that is certainly not a good thing for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Look at where the gold lead is right now. You can talk about a 5k gold lead for NIP, but almost all of it is in jungle and in mid, specifically on the Vi. If that champion is diving into the backline and getting bursted down before that Guardian Angel is completed, it's going to be a bit of a problem for NIP to be able to follow through. You need to buy as much time for Assum in these fights as you can, who has now completed his third item. Again, same thing for Ryan on the other side. For these 80 carries, they are going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage. With Baron spawned on the map, I imagine the dance is going to begin, but Soul Point in 3 minutes might dissuade some more aggression. That being said, you can never count an LPL team out from just wanting to take a fight.
Not at all. But, I mean, this is a big catch-up for Ryan, though. Coming into that last fight, right, it was 2 items against 1. Now it's 3-on-3. Big catch-up moment for this Corki if he is able to find time to fire away. Keshi pressuring on the bottom side, but, I mean, they're working on towards this dragon. NIP, or rather the Baron, take it down to about 10k HP. They do give up on the play here. It's a TP up from Keshi, a little far away from the rest of the team, but tanky enough that he just shrugs it all off with that teleport shield. Thank you very much, top lane Quest. As Junhao and Keshi now up in the front line, able to tank this all day long. They find the knock-up on towards Guwon, dive into the backside, does find the knock-up onto Ryan, but he's able to dash right back out. Guardian Angel popped here for Junhao. Keshi trying to buy time on the opposite side, going to get taken down by Hoya. And now it's a 5 versus 4. Care fishing with these charms. Once again, cannot connect them. Assum steps forward to be able to slow him down with the laser. And Zhuo looking for a big pop blossom on the flank. Lockdown found on towards Care. Heru gets a little bit of a chunk damage and will be able to dash away with the phase rush. All in all, one quick kill picked up for NIP.
What a perfect timer for NIP to be able to take that fight. Not only do they start the Baron and basically take everything away from ThunderTalk when it comes to their resources to kind of react to that, with the teleport coming in from Keshi and the Realm Warp being utilized by Heru, but they pick up the kill on Keshi trying to buy time as well because that Guardian Angel was completed for Guwon. Really, really well executed there from NIP. Very decisive gameplay that ends up getting them quite a bit in the end. The gold lead isn't going to look super strong, but the kills are going in the right area, and I think you're disrupting a lot of tools from ThunderTalk to be able to fight more. Soul Point going to be spawning in 55 seconds, and there are going to be a lot of flashes on cooldown for that.
Certainly. I mean, one thing to look at is that Guwon does lose his GA. It is a tool that will likely not be up in time for this dragon. I say likely. It's not going to be up for this dragon. Everybody's going to be interested in getting onto this as soon as it spawns in about 35 seconds. And this could be soul for ThunderTalk, and it's Hextech Soul too, Kman. It's a very, very valuable one for them to be able to achieve. It's good with the poke damage that the Corki brings to the table as well. If they can secure this, it's a legitimate path back into the game.
Oh, absolutely. If they secure this dragon, they are immediately winning. That's why NIP need to be so careful. Look at the vision on the bottom side of your mini-map here. NIP are controlling the river, but they have to keep control of it. Their comp really relies on darkness. See if they can utilize it.
Let's see, Care deep in the enemy jungle, looking for a big flank angle here. Has to be cautious about getting found and picked off, though. They do have coverage with that extra scrying ward thrown down in the bush. Going to start off on the dragon right away. ThunderTalk staying all grouped up as 5. Have to be very cautious about the engage angles of Zhuo. Standing on the opposite side, Heru trying to mark him. Hoya coming in from behind. They're getting pinched from all angles. ThunderTalk likely going to have to pick a target and go in. It's going to be Guwon. They dive forward, but they're all grouped up. Pop Blossom connects out of the full squad. And down go the bot lane. Down goes the jungler. NIP secure the dragon and win the fight.
Ninjas in Pyjamas, with their utter domination of the vision game around the river, are able to create this 3-way pincer that they strangle ThunderTalk with. And they get absolutely destroyed. That is Dragon, that is Baron, that is everything on the map for NIP. We wondered if they were going to be able to fight these 5v5s with the comp that they had generated with no GA and flash onto Guwon. Well, it turns out if your Vi is caught, that means the rest of the team is up for grabs, we'll just say, to take, as we see a great job setting up here from the team. Again, this three-way pincer of Hoya, Zhuo, and Care is very well done. ThunderTalk realized that the only way to try and make this play work is to capitalize on the group that is by themselves, but instead of trying to get on the Yunara, they get onto the jungler, the Vi, who just lives a little too long. Care, Hoya, Zhuo, they're all able to make their way in. The Wombo combos of ultimates come through. Dragon goes down, and now with no stacking, the win condition is off the table for ThunderTalk for at the very least 4 more minutes, and it's even more gold in the pocket of NIP carries.
Absolutely. NIP now fully in the driver's seat once again. They find themselves 7K in the lead. Plenty more gold picked up by the relevant carries here. Great fight all around, and ThunderTalk's opportunities dwindling away. They are going to be pressured by this Baron for the next couple of minutes, and just need to try their best to try to minimize their losses, but there's going to be inner turrets hitting the ground here before long, Kman. They're so difficult for ThunderTalk to be able to really defend up against these as long as NIP keep themselves grouped up.
And that is the thing. This is a bit of a death ball in a very different kind of way when it comes to the Vi, the Ahri, and the Yunara now. One wrong misposition and you can get Nico or Vi ult and you can get Ahri charmed. Gotta be so careful if you're ThunderTalk. NIP are definitely setting the trap to utilize with this Baron.
Definitely are. They are going to start to take down some of these turret plates. Immediately the equalizer thrown down. Ryan kind of has to rock his way all the way across it. Loses quite a bit of damage to the red carpet. And now just pushed away our ThunderTalk. This is an inner turret falling down. NIP get another objective for themselves.
It's very clinical from Ninjas in Pyjamas, a team we criticized for not having the best late game macro, for not being able to hold on to the leads they had generated, especially early on in series. Well, things have certainly turned against ThunderTalk in these last 2 series. They've looked fantastic at being able to convert their leads. And now you've got your resources back up. Not only does Vi have the GA and Flash available, something that wasn't even there for the previous fight, but you've gotten even stronger on a lot of your carries. This is a 4-item Yunara that is now going to shred through the front line of ThunderTalk. It's going to be really difficult. At this point, they need to make sure that they do not get absolutely destroyed in the Vision game, but they must hold on at all costs, try and survive until this next Dragon.
Looking for the final inner. All 5 members up here, actually 4. Care is sitting in mid still, trying to keep the 4-1 alive. Well, fooling even me with the clone there, but gives them just a little bit of time to get this next wave on up. Care starting to pressure onto that inhibitor turret as well, feeling confident in his one-on-one. Now going to continue to find this harass wherever possible as Siege Minion works its way onto these turret plates. Down goes another one. Down goes another chunk of gold over the NIP squad. And Keshi might be up too far. Caught up by the Tangle Barbs, forced to flash back away. And they have to abandon the turret with that done.
Yeah, it's a massive mistake from Keshi. And NIP are going to keep pushing. The Baron buff is gone, so they do not have that available. But that is not deterring them at the moment. Continuing to shove the wave in, they'll realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't be sticking around too long. Maybe our 11,000 gold lead is good enough for us to take our reset, and that's exactly what they will do. But you want to talk about game-turning plays, Ninjas in Pyjamas are firmly in the driver's seat of the rest of game number 1. ThunderTalk are going to need a miracle in about 1 minute on this Hextech Soul in order to change their fate.
Yep, it's going to have to be probably a steal from Junhao, because control over this bottom river is a pie-in-the-sky kind of goal. If you are ThunderTalk at this point, down 10,000 gold, second out onto the map, need to be able to clear out these waves as they've all been getting shoved in by the Baron buff, which has now expired. Maybe a Realm Warp, maybe a big flank from Keshi. Options exist, but they are few and far between.
It is going to take a miracle fight from ThunderTalk, but let's be honest, we've seen Group Perseverance throw worse than 11,000. It has certainly been a crazy year for this group, and with the final time that we will see them on the stage, maybe we have some late game heroics in ThunderTalk. Awesome needs to make sure he doesn't overstep for now. Guwon actually going to take a decent chunk from Heru before this fight starts, and TP's coming in. Dragon is up here, and Guwon is going to be at the very least a little bit lower in health than you would expect.
Ooh, NIP caught with their pants down a little bit here. Guwon loses about half of his HP. Hoya has to take a very short-range TP, but he does arrive all the same. Now coming on in on the flank, he is under vision from that control ward. ThunderTalk know exactly where the Rumble is looking to jump on them from and know where the Equalizer is going to approach from. Going to try to maybe mark him and push him out, but Heru's stuck up towards the top side. He's kind of working on Zhuo right now, trying to prevent the Pop Blossom from coming in without too much effort, and does have access to the full combo to be able to get that Pop Blossom on towards the rest of the team. Dragon being buffered and ping-ponged back and forth between the two teams as it falls below 5k HP. Care taking that portal over to the other side. Heru going to find him, forces out the Spirit Rush. Here's Guwon on the engage. They layer on down the Pop Blossom. They layer on down the Equalizer, but it doesn't do that much. Ryan manages to stay alive. Dragon getting battled on, does get secured by Hoya, but what about Guwon on the opposite side? He's able to flash back towards the rest of his team as Heru falls down to the full NIP squad. Keshi and Ryan side by side, but low on health. Feather going to group with them as well. NIP do not want to let these fish go. They want to end the game right here and now with a successful fight, but their health bars are taken away as well. They eventually decide catch and release is the way to play. ThunderTalk will walk away with their lives, but they do not secure the Dragon's Soul.
It's just so close. The fact that they're not able to get the Dragon despite Guwon diving onto their AD carry on the backline is unfortunate. Hoya is able to secure the Drake for Ninjas in Pyjamas, put both teams on Soul Point here. A massive grab for NIP to keep themselves in the driver's seat. Obviously, Soul wouldn't have brought ThunderTalk back on its own, but it certainly would have helped with how everything is breaking down. Hope we get a replay of that fight. A lot going on. Couple of very key ultimates not landing for NIP. The poke actually doing a really good job for ThunderTalk, but again, the Baron Dance is starting, and there's no blue vision on the top side here. Keshi is going to have to be super careful walking up if he wants to get any sort of information on where the rest of Ninjas in Pyjamas is right now.
If at first you don't succeed, at least this time Guwon doesn't have Guardian Angel. What can ThunderTalk do in and around this Dragon? Guwon actually on a deep flank here. No vision for ThunderTalk of what Guwon is up to. Thank you, observers, for toggling that one, but not going to find an angle to get on in. NIP still with control over that top river. They aren't worried about the Baron one bit, and in fact, they're pinging onto it once again, but without Guwon, it's kind of an empty threat.
That is the interesting thing. Guwon wants to go for game, not for Baron here. He's looking for Ryan.
Ryan would be the key to the game here, and Guwon's been gone for so long. ThunderTalk have no idea where he is. Now they do! Here he comes, right onto Ryan! Pop Blossom at the ready! Junhao locked down as well, and down go ThunderTalk! NIP with a quick 3-0 grab, going to look to close out game number 1, and they're going to have no problem doing so!
An absolutely phenomenal flank from Ninjas in Pyjamas, from Guwon, who has been exceptional throughout game number 1, will seal game 1's fate. A big win for Ninjas in Pyjamas and one of their most dominant of the year.
Well done, NIP. Some fights that they would wish were a little cleaner, but all the same, it is a game number 1 win. They can win introductory games to series. They've done it now twice against ThunderTalk. And their record increases to 3-0, looking plenty good for NIP, who do need a 2-0 tonight to be able to get themselves top 2 in the group.
According to plan so far, Gordo, they are on track. That 2-0 is within their sights, and really that is all that is on the table. That is the goal, that is the dream. Getting that extra life in Knight's Road is massive for this team, and they are doing everything in their power to get there. I loved their draft in this game. I liked both drafts, to be fair, but I think their draft is the pinnacle of really what is exemplary about this current meta. The Vi Ahri into the Yunara carry in the late game, and you're rarely going to see a team be able to execute better on that both early, mid, and late.
No, definitely the case here. I think, yeah, they got a draft that I feel like not many teams get in 2026. The combination of that Rumble and that Nico, 2 picks that a lot of teams are plenty willing to first pick on blue side or on first pick side. I'm still going to have to correct some of my language on that one. And somehow they end up with both of them due to the priorities that ThunderTalk come into the game with. I think ThunderTalk put up a couple of good efforts, a couple of exemplary showings. It's really good to see Keshi start to win out some laning phases with counter pick. Wasn't working up against Hoya the last time these teams met, so maybe something to be on the lookout for. Maybe you get back into those carry pants, shed the Cassante as it's gone from the Fearless Champion pool, and something to look to for game number 2 if you're ThunderTalk.
I mean, that was the one part of the map that really felt like it was working out for them, and they could really play through it. I mean, he was up 25-30 CS through multiple parts of that early game. It was a really impressive showing in a matchup that I don't always think is the easiest to be able to play in the early game. The problem is, we talked about this, I even highlighted this in the pre-show, sometimes top lane is just the role where it's like, oh, I won, and there's my team losing, and that's unfortunately what happened to Keshi. It's happened a lot to Keshi across this year, but you need to start seeing better. Out of the middle of this map, Junhao was brought in as a veteran for this team, and he was really outplayed in this game by Guwon. The Xin Zhao was never really available. We questioned that pick and draft anyways, because we know Guwon doesn't play it. They've had to ban it out all year long, and to prioritize it heavily, to give over the Rumble and the Nico and just the entire combo, it felt like they were a little bit behind in terms of their decision-making in all phases of the game here.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you know, you've got the Nico monkey off your back, not to make any reference to WE players here, but it really does mean that you don't have to feel like obligated to ban that on both sides anymore. You could say the same thing about the Rumble. Now that the Cassante is gone too, it could open up for, you know, either carry v carry top lane matchups, which you would hope Keshi feels comfortable in, or, you know, even better, if you're able to find him, you know, find a way to get Hoya on to something that's a little bit less exciting, get him back on that Ornn, get him back on the Poppy, get him back on the Scion life, and then you can try to pick something like Keshi's Gwen into it, which has looked really, really impressive when he's gotten to pick it up.
That's the hope, is you're able to get something that he can actually utilize, because as we see from the damage charts, Keshi had this huge lead, and it didn't matter. The Cassante couldn't really affect the game too much. There were a couple of moments in some early mid-game fights that felt like they were kind of turning in favor of ThunderTalk because of the Cassante's interference, but really, I mean, that's a champion that kind of needs the rest of the team to be on board, and it just wasn't necessarily there. I do want to give a little bit of credit to Heru as well, who I think had a couple of nice fights. It just didn't really matter at the end of the day for the Rise. And, you know, we talk about all of these champions, you know, not being perfect or, you know, not wanting to give things like Rumble and Nico over. They burned a lot of picks themselves as well. Things like the Rise and the Corki Nami that have been super successful as a bot lane duo over the course of this year. This is certainly not one of those games that, oh, you know, we just kind of, we lost in draft and we still got a lot of power picks on the menu. There were 10 champions in this game that I think a lot of teams would prioritize pretty heavily in a game one, and now they're all off the board.
Yeah, it's going to lead to some interesting fearless drafting in game number 2, and, you know, finding draft advantages, always something you can look for as an underdog team whose players maybe aren't performing at the level this season that some of the opposing players have. If you can find yourself a couple of good matchups, a good team composition, find a way to win here. And you know, the bright spot for ThunderTalk is that winning the series really doesn't even matter. Winning one game is enough to play spoiler, and you know, should be enough to walk away having had, you know, the impact in the standings that you had the opportunity to have. Frankly, winning the second game at that point is just gravy.
Yeah, I mean, their goal here is to play spoiler. That is what ThunderTalk want to do. Of course, the confidence you get from beating a team like Ninjas in Pyjamas is real. You certainly want to be at your best going into a matchup against an LNG team that looks very good right now. But, I mean, how can you not want to play spoiler against someone in the LPL when you have the opportunity to? Yeah. It's, of course, the game-ending fight. You know, you want to be that team that is kind of remembered for, you know, pushing someone to the brink on these final days. ThunderTalk did show a lot of good things in game number 1, and as you pointed out, even though picks are off the board, a lot of big picks are still available for both of these teams. You mentioned the Gwen for Keshi, the Renekton, and the Mbessa as well, I think are kind of notable picks. If he's able to get something more aggressive like that, that's really going to be where my eyes are at for this next draft.
Yeah, Mbessa, something that they have been dedicating ban resources to on the NIP side. I'd be surprised if they drop that ban, but hey, you know, whatever they do, there's a lot of options that are possible, and yeah, I really want to see Keshi get himself onto a solid matchup. I think we saw a good game out of Heru in game number 1, too. I think his Rise was solid. I think it was respectable. I would have liked to see a little bit more Realm Warp action in the earlier games, you know, pairing up with Junhao, trying to make some plays. If you're going to go for that Xin Zhao, you want to try to find ways to put that Xin Zhao in fights. But at the very least, he was able to execute on the team fights just fine. Does look like that player of the game. Going to go over to Guwon, though, who had a very, very good Vi flank to end out game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is the right choice, in my opinion, of all of the players in that game. Guwon certainly had the biggest influence. Let's not forget that Junhao had to burn his flash at level 3 because of a mistimed invade where Heru had already backed, and from that point onwards, Guwon was like, oh, I have jungle control? I guess I'll just own the map, and that's exactly what he did on that Vi throughout basically all of that mid and late game.
Yeah, I forgot it. I memory hold that one a little bit. That was, Yeah, that was not pretty. So yeah, I want to see that cleaned up from Junhao as well in game number 2. Let's see if we can find a way to do that. We're going to throw it to a quick break while we get into draft for that second game. But first things first, if you would like to support LPL English, consider becoming a Coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project since the vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. Subscribe to our Coffee, linked in the chat, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. The LPL English podcast has been dropping this season. You get early access to those episodes with that contribution to the Coffee, so you definitely want to check that out, hear what some of the best brains here at LPL English have to say about the scene and the league. Lots of other stuff, too. So go and check it out when you get a chance. We will be back with game number 2, so don't go anywhere.